So I'm gonna tell you guys a little story of Kat the trainer. So Kat she was one of my favorite trainers. She wasn't the first trainer I hired, but she was probably the most valuable person that I've ever hired. And her value, it wasn't in her experience. It wasn't in her education. It wasn't in her special skill sets. In fact, she had zero. She had none of it. But what she did have is she had this amazing attitude. She had this like energy about her. When I interviewed her, I was like, man, like this girl is like, I felt something special about her. I knew that she would be a culture fit. And ultimately I saw this opportunity, but it wasn't an opportunity for her. It was actually an opportunity for me. And so what that opportunity was to actually create a system for somebody who had zero experience with being a trainer, who had zero experience with the position that I was trying to hire her for. And for her not only to just fill a position, but for her to thrive in my business and in that position. And so I knew my decision to hire Kat was going to be either a glorious one or it was going to be disastrous. And so what I needed to do is I needed to take all the information that I had in my brain and I needed to be able to clearly communicate it to someone who knew absolutely nothing. And so I had to do all that through the mediums of docs and PDFs and videos. I wasn't going to be the one who did the training myself. I wanted to do it through these assets. And so it was time consuming and it was a tedious process. My SOPs that I had for my trainer position, I literally had to double them. The number of videos that I had, I doubled them. I even added a test at the end just to like ensure that she could actually follow the process and learn the system. And so the results, well, within 2 weeks, Kat was a client favorite. The results turned out to be glorious. And so Kat, again, she was one of my favorite hires ever, but she honestly became one of my favorite teachers ever. And so what she showed me was the power in a standard operating procedure. She showed me that the better the procedure was, the less I needed to rely on previous skills of any of my job applicants. And this actually increased my applicant pool because now I could have laser focus on hiring people for attitude over aptitude. And so by hiring this way, we have been able to build a cleaning team of amazing humans that we have taught how to be great cleaners. This is the process that I learned from Alex and Layla by being part of the Gym Launch company. And the reason why they were able to grow and scale as fast as they did from going from $0 to $30 million in less than a couple of years is because they had really good systems, they had really good processes. And by the end of it, it was just Alex and Layla who started the company. By the end of it, when I was with them, they had over 100 employees, right? So they had to have really good systems along the way. And so one of the first things that I actually learned from Layla was clarity on the position, okay? And so every single role that she hired, including mine, there had this document called the 4 R's. Okay. The 4 R's included roles, requirements for the position, responsibilities, and the results that were expected. And so on this document, it clearly lined out the position title and what these 4 R's were. And so these 4 R's, the business owner clarity on exactly what they were hiring for, but also allowed the person who's getting hired clear expectations of what was expected of them. At the bottom of that 4 R's document was also communication cycles, right? So you were also, it showed you what your communication cycles are going to be. So it means if you have one-on-ones, if there's specific team meetings, there's daily huddles, like all your expected communication cycles were on there. So you know exactly what to expect on a day-to-day basis as well. The next thing it also had on there is your hours. Okay. So the amount of hours that you work in a week or the hours that you're working per day, depending on, again, if you're salary or if you're hourly, all the hours were clearly defined on there. Compensation. So your compensation was clearly defined on there as well. So if you got paid, again, hourly, if you got paid commission, if you got paid a base plus commission, everything was put on there. So specifically for the cleaning company, we also put equipment on there. And so all of our cleaners actually rent our equipment and they don't rent it for any money or anything. It just says that, hey, like we're providing the equipment to you. And part of your employment is that you get to use this equipment. Once you are no longer part of the company, like you must return the equipment back in its normal condition. And the termination. So termination, again, nobody wants to talk about termination. No one wants to talk about the exit plan, but having a clear exit plan is very, very important. And part of our termination policy states that your position with our company is an at-will position, right? Which means that we can fire you at any time and you can also quit at any time. And so there's no 30 days, 60 days, we're always day to day. There is no, you get to try hard for 6 months and after 6 months, you're in, it's like you're always showing up and you're always proving yourself every single day. Once you actually have clarity on the role, the next thing you do is you actually need to interview them. Think of interviewing like a sale. Would you ever go into a sale without having some sort of format, some sort of script to follow? Most people would be like, no, of course I got to have a sales script. You guys know what you're going to say when you get on a interview with somebody. You have clear questions, you have clear intentions, you have clear structure on what the whole point of that interview is, right? And so most people don't. And so this interview script, again, this is something that we got from Layla as well. And we've obviously adjusted it for the cleaning company specifically. It's really, really good. And so let me break down the actual formatting of the script. Here's the framework of the script. The first opening of the script is actually the discovery of the job applicant's goals. So the reason why this is important is because most business owners, they only want to talk about themselves. They think that they are high on the hill. They think they're superior. They think people should just bow at their mercy. And that they're doing them a service by providing a job. And so the person who's across the desk or across the Zoom screen, they should just be grateful that they have an opportunity to work. Well, you can believe that, but that opportunity will not serve you and it won't create this culture of empowerment. And so ultimately, the first part of this script is the discovery of their goals and what they're trying to achieve in their life. And the more you understand the other person, the more they felt understood, the more influence you can have with them or over them, or however you want to phrase it. And so once you actually have identified their goals and you can clearly define like this position is going to help them get where they want to, then you can start to confirm the logistics of things like, well, do they actually have a car? Do they actually have insurance? Can they actually work the hours that they're supposed to work? So these are all things that should have been handled or addressed on the application, but you need to reconfirm them on the interview process, because sometimes people lie, not intentionally, just because like, oh, let me talk about that, and then they get to address it. And so it's on you as the hirer or the business owner to confirm all the logistics. That way you don't go through the process, hire someone, they're like, and you bring them on, they go through training like, oh, but I don't even have a car. Well, that should have been addressed, right? And then core values. So part of you learning about what their goals are and what they're trying to get out of this, like that's what you're always looking for actually, is like, what are their core values? And so thinking about that from a standpoint of, well, what are your core values? What are you looking for? And so we have our core values clearly defined for adaptability or flexibility, looking for direct communication. And so anytime we ask questions, we're looking for, do they have those core values? And so then as part of the script though, we directly come at them with the core values. And we say, hey, like one of our core values is integrity. Give me an example of integrity that you've displayed in your life. And so basically directly attacking those core values, especially the ones that are super, super important. And then after all that, then go ahead and share your business origin story. Okay. So this is actually not about the position specifically. This is the origin story of the business. Like every business should have a story. It should have a reason why you're in business. It should get people inspired of why you're doing what you're doing. And if you don't have this yet, it's okay. Like sometimes like you don't have to force it. And then once you go through the origin story, then you actually communicate the job specifics. So then if it's a cleaner, say, okay, for a cleaner, here's what we're offering for pay. Here's the hours we're looking for. And here's what's expected. Here's what the process looks like. And then again, like be as specific as you possibly can about what the job actually is. And then I like to do this at the very end, is like gauge interest. So now again, think of it like a sale, right? So they came in not knowing anything but what you advertised and that they wanted a job. But after this 30 minutes of talking with you, now they're like, they should be thinking differently. And so they're either going to be like attracted to you, like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. Or they're like, oh my God, this is a lot more work. This is not what I was looking for. And so at that point, you really want to gauge interest, right? And so it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like, you're so jacked about this, and 1 being like, I would never take this position ever. Once you gauge interest, that's an important piece of the next equation, is like, you don't really want to offer a position to somebody who's not all in, who's not excited, because again, commitment is everything in any position. Like anybody can be great at anything, but it's the commitment level that dictates whether somebody will be great or not. So at that point, you make the job offer. If they accept it, amazing. The next step of the whole process is onboarding. And so most people, onboarding is, okay, I hired you, show up at 8 a.m. on Monday morning and we'll get to work. And people wonder why they're not successful with hiring people and why people don't stick around, is because human beings love structure. They love process. They love systems. They love to see that somebody knows what they're doing and somebody has like a process that is like, it's fluid and it makes sense and it takes care of a lot of the hurdles. So onboarding is one of the most important pieces of the equation, especially for hiring cleaners and hiring any staff member for that matter. Part of that initial onboarding is actually a welcome email. It clearly states exactly the process moving forward. It sends them out a DocuSign as well with their handbook and their non-compete and their 4 R's document as well. And they sign all these documents. So they're signing their role, responsibilities, requirements, and results document. It's the 4 R's document. It outlines their hours, everything we talked about before. So now they sign this and say, yes, I agree to this. They get an employee handbook, which again goes over more of the details of what we stand for as a company. And then we actually have them do a non-compete as well. The next thing that we have them do is payroll, right? So we have everyone on direct deposit. And so everyone's on direct deposit through our payroll process system, which we actually use QuickBooks. And so we get the payroll information. So we get their bank account and we have them fill out their W-2 or W-9, whatever it is. And that way this is taken care of right away. So that way make sure that we actually get them paid right away. Next thing is we have them do basic training. So the basic training is actually a system that we bought and they can do the cleaner training all online. Okay. And so we send them the basic training credentials and it's their job to actually go through it on their own time and to pass basic training. The next step of the process is we have them fill out a bio. So we have them send in a picture that they would like to use. And we have them write up a little about me, about who they are. And the reason why we do this is number one, so we get to know a little bit more about our staff members, but also we actually send this to our clients. And so our clients know who's coming to their homes. This has actually been a really cool dual benefit that our clients know when somebody comes in the house, they can literally go look at the link of all our biographies, and they can say, oh, Angel was at our house, and they can go click on her bio and see her picture and see her about me. That way they have an idea of who's coming into their home. We also make sure that they have a valid driver's license, and they also have to show proof of insurance because all of our cleaners are driving their own cars. So they must be able to drive and drive insured. And then they must pass basic training. And then we send them an orientation video. And then after that orientation video, we actually schedule their in-field training. And so the in-field training is they're going to be going hip to hip with one of our cleaning tech trainers who's going to walk them through the process for an entire week on how we do our cleaning process, right? Our process for cleaning bathrooms and kitchens and making beds and doing vacuum lines, all the processes. We just ensure that we have a senior trainer or a cleaning tech trainer who's going to be hip to hip and ensure that this person does a quality job so that they eventually can go out on their own, because our business model is all set up for solo cleans and solo cleans. So first week they're with a trainer, and the second week they're on their own. Of course, they must pass in-field training, which is pretty important to do. And so that is the process for literally hiring somebody who has zero experience.
Are you a startup or an existing cleaning business owner? Well, I have just the resource for you. I did a free masterclass on how to build $1 million cleaning company, even if you have zero cleaning experience. Inside this masterclass, I share with you an automated marketing funnel, a customized sales system, and a recruiter funnel. And on top of that, the interview script you saw today and the onboarding process, all in there. But guess what? It's absolutely free. So if you want access to those systems, all you gotta do is click the link down below to create your free account. I look forward to seeing you on the inside.